So across American campuses and now in France and all over the world, you have students that have been coming out protesting for Gaza, for Palestine. And the only thing I can say is they are truly the best and brightest that humanity has to offer. I'm really proud. I'm really proud of them. And they you know, their feelings, their indignation, their anger encapsulates what millions of people across the globe feel. Okay, this is not just our generation. You got people all around the world from all age groups who feel the same way. And I'm so proud of them. Let me show you a couple of videos. I've got tons of stuff to show you. It's not just a couple. But let's begin, for example, with Emerson. Look at them. Are they not amazing? Are they not amazing? Look, it goes on. This is from Colombia, where Colombia and Emerson have really been the flashpoints thus far. And they took over, the students took over Hamilton Hall, which was done in 1968 as well. Okay, so it's a flashback to 1968, and they unfurl this banner. So let me give you some context. Why Hinds Hall instead of Hamilton's Hall? Well, and you'll see this now in CNN how you know how wild they are. They've named this. Okay, so here she is. Okay, it's named after Hind Rajab. It's a girl that was killed in Palestine. I think she was about 6 years old. Okay, she was killed this January in. Yeah, so she was 6 years old, and she was killed by the Israelis after they killed the rest of her family. And that's who they named the hall after. Now, look what CNN had to say. Just listen to what they have to say.
16. Good morning to all of you. Some pretty stunning images coming to us overnight, Evan. We also are just learning at this hour that banners have been hung from the hall. They read Hind's Hall and Intifada. Hind is a reference to a woman who was killed in Gaza. Intifada, of course, a reference to uprising, violent struggle.
A woman. Now, why would you call a 6-year-old girl a woman? That seems a bit weird. Could it be you're trying to protect the Israelis' image as usual? As usual. As usual. We expect nothing less. I mean, this is either very sloppy reporting or, at worst, covering for the Israelis. And either way, you really shouldn't be talking about the topic if you have no clue what the banners mean. Should you?
Palestine will live forever. Free Palestine.
Ian, can I jump in? Ian, can I jump in?
Now, make no mistake. They're not shuffling tables because they like to play musical chairs. They're barricading the halls because the universities are such scumbags that they have then called in the riot police. So not just campus security, which is such a novel American thing, but not just the regular police, but riot police, okay? And I'll show you, we'll talk about France in a minute, and it's the same thing over there with the CRS. So they've called in the riot police, and the scenes that are coming out of this, I mean, it's not just in Colombia, it's not just in Emory, it's not just in Emerson, it's across the country, in Texas as well. You know, the fascist stormtroopers that have come in to crush the dissent. How dare you talk about Palestine? How dare you talk about Gaza? Don't you get it? You're supposed to be quiet. Get with the program. Become a droid like everybody else. Go to work, pay your taxes, watch the zombie brain mush at night, and then go to bed. That's it. Don't talk about Gaza. So they have to come in and crack skulls, right? Take a look at this, for example. So again, this is from Texas. There's more over here. This is also from So I can't tell from the quality's a bit difficult to tell, but it looks like Boston Police Department from the shoulder patches. So in any case, that's not the point here. The point is the brutality, the unnecessary brutality. Why would you tackle an unarmed student like this? What is this? Overreaction. I'll tell you what it is. I'll tell you why. Because it's the same kind of overreaction that you see from the Israelis, and rather not overreaction, but disproportionate force, right? So it's not just that the students are innocent, just like the people in Gaza are innocent. It's not only that, it's the fashion of disproportionate force. You know, we're gonna wipe you out, we're gonna bomb you, we're gonna beat you, we're gonna hurt you, we're gonna kill you, whatever, it doesn't matter. And they have killed students in protests before, in the Vietnam anti-war protests. So it's not like, you know, and those were bystanders. So, you know, I hope nothing happens here, of course, but it wouldn't be beyond, it wouldn't be beneath them. So this is really so typical. And like I said, it's not just one campus, it's all across the place. Okay, here's, for example, this is from Austin, Texas. Notice also the knees. I didn't particularly see anything on the neck this time, but I'm sure they've done it. And this is another thing that the Israelis and Americans have in common, right? So they'll put their knee and entire body weight of a full-grown, you know, man or woman on somebody's neck, and then wonder why they died. You know, like it's a medical anomaly. We don't know. We have no clue. Why would this be brutality? How dare you? So this is something that the Israelis use on Palestinians as well. You know, you can go and watch the report I did a few years ago on Khairi Hanoun. That was his name. And it wasn't too long after George Floyd, right? And it's the same kind of tactics. And we know for a fact that the Israelis train with the Americans. Now, this doesn't have to be, for example, you don't need the Israelis to go and train with every single police force in the United States for these tactics to be spread across all the police forces in the United States. So we have the disproportionate use of force used against civilians who have done nothing, used to silence, to censor, to crush dissent, any form of dissent, any form. Peaceful protest, resistance fighter, crush you. No form is allowed, none whatsoever. We have the common tactics, so the actual physical tactics that they use to restrain people, if you call this restraining. And then we also have the aspect of the military-industrial complex. So the fact that you not only have militarized police forces in the United States, but the equipment that they're buying is from the same companies that sell to the Israelis. So you'll have one company that makes money from selling to the Israeli forces and from selling to United States police forces. So there's an economic incentive here for this fascist behavior to continue, whether it's inside the United States or even worse, whether it's in Gaza or in the Middle East, right, where the Israelis have their occupation. So there's so much in common here. You know, we're not just like splitting hairs or something. No. These points need to be mentioned. And I'm not done with the videos. So let me show you some more. This is a poor guy who was hit so badly at Emerson College, and I got permission from his parents to show you this video, and it's really awful. I want you to hear what happened to him in his own words.
Literally, like, they had me down there
on the floor.
They slammed my head into the floor. They pressed down on my ear, some like fucking pressure point. I couldn't feel anything. I thought I was gonna die. Just for like a second. I thought I was gonna die. I couldn't breathe.
You couldn't breathe?
I couldn't breathe.
Did you say I can't breathe?
I couldn't say anything. They were pressing on every part of me. gonna die.
And then when they took you in, were they brutal to you in the place?
After they finally let me up, they were just pushing me all around, and I was like in like super acquiescence mode. I was like, I'll do anything you say, and I was seeing everybody that like I had convinced to come to this like being brutally attacked, who was like not prepared for it. And I was just like, I needed to support them, so I was like, I'm with you. And I was just...
Did you think that this would happen? Like, what did you think was going to happen? Did you think they would do this, or did you think they would just wait and see if you guys would go?
I kind of don't think I actually believed that they would storm us with fucking riot gear.
Oh.
Like, I knew that there was a threat and stuff.
Oh, and can you come home for the weekend? I think Will's gonna come.
So you see, these students are equally casualties in this war, because they suffer the same treatment that someone in the West Bank, for example, might suffer. And I really mean this. This is not a joke. You can be murdered by these fascist forces just for protesting, and then this is in America, so they want to lecture the whole world about how free they are. They're so free that they have to bomb you to make you free, right? That's how free. They're the freest. No one is freer. So they think that their model is the best in the world. Well, no, not really. This is what American freedom really looks like. That's what it looks like. You will get assaulted, attacked, charged at by a bunch of brutes for literally doing nothing except saying, I don't want to be part of genocide. For saying, I don't want the university where I pay tuition to send that money to Israeli companies or to invest that money in the occupied territories. That's what these students are saying. It's their money, yes? They are citizens of the United States, yes? Do they not have a say in this perfect fucking democracy that we keep hearing about? So you can see also that even some of the faculty are being attacked. So this is from Emory, and I want you to see how they literally attacked and arrested a professor because she simply objected to this wanton, brutish behavior that the students are suffering.
You are fascist! You are Hitler! You are a laughing dog! Shame on you! May you never live another day!
I am a professor!
I mean, I'm just shocked. I'm really disgusted. I'm so I'm speechless. Who justifies this kind of behavior? You behave like this when someone, for example, who poses a threat to other people's lives. They have a gun or something, But I know in America you're supposed to shoot everyone, so we should consider her lucky, I suppose, right? That she didn't get shot for just standing there. Yeah, I suppose she's very lucky in that case. I mean, this is really, you have to have something wrong with you to think that this is okay. And then also to then point fingers at China and point fingers at Russia and point fingers at Iran and say, oh, look how you brutalize women. What is this? What is this? Can you tell me what this is then? Indefensible, truly incorrigible. You have, this is now I'm going back to Colombia. You see, I'm jumping between the universities because there's so much footage to show you, and it's really also similar, right? This is from Colombia, and you can see the faculty formed a wall so that they can defend this encampment, this Gaza solidarity encampment. We should consider them lucky, right? That they didn't get hurled to the ground. Yes. You see that this behavior, charging at students, ripping them, it's so disturbing. But another way that they oppress the American population is to make sure that there's no medical insurance, for example. So, not only do you have to pay for college, you have to go into debt to get a degree so you can go work a job to pay back the debt. But you also have no medical insurance, right? You have tons of people who can't even sustain one medical emergency, financially speaking. That's another way that they do this. And instead of helping people to pay, to pay off their student loans or to give them medical insurance, which is common in all so-called developed countries, they then spend that on buying weapons for the Israelis, on buying weapons for Ukraine. Now, Nancy Pelosi, she went to Oxford Union to give a speech, and the students in England were having none of it. I think that's the first time she's ever stood next to a Palestinian flag in her life. And it was by force. Let me show you also Dr. Jill Stein. She was manhandled and thrown in a jail cell, and then they accused her of assaulting police. This is what's so lovely. It's like they're not only going to crack your skull, they'll then say that you cracked their skull, right? Typical victim mentality. It's like the Israelis. The Israelis are the aggressors, but then they claim that they are victims. So the police do the same thing. They attack people like Jill Stein, and then they say she attacked them. Here, let me play you just a short clip of hers, because I can't play the full one after when she got out of jail, but this one will suffice.
By a Zionist the other day when we were doing a live stream in front of the Columbia campus, who was trying to interrupt my live stream and say, no, but the Jews don't have a homeland. To which my response was, well, we actually have many homelands, and Jews are doing very well, thank you, extremely well, in many countries around the world right now. Even if Jews didn't have a homeland and needed one, you can't take it away from somebody else. That doesn't give you a right to do that. And yes, Jews are a traumatized people. Palestinians are an extremely traumatized people. And being traumatized does not give you a license to kill, essentially. We need to operate according to the law.
This is why she will never be allowed by the powers that be to become president, because she is too rational. She's too rational and likable, and she's not a psychopath. What she's saying is very important, and it relates to the protests. Why? Not just because she was there, but because she is debunking this narrative that the protests are somehow anti-Semitic. And I've taken 10 minutes to get to this point. Half the time, I don't even want to talk about it, because even by debunking it, you still somehow end up mentioning what the Israelis are accusing people of. And so we shouldn't give this any attention whatsoever. People who are serious don't give this any attention. People who are Jewish themselves are in these protests. And even if they weren't, you don't necessarily have to have Jewish people in the protest to prove, it has nothing to do with Jew hatred or that it is not anti-Semitic. But nevertheless, you still have tons of Jewish students, Jewish faculty, people who are alumni who've showed up to take part in the protests. And that is a further indication that all this, babbling nonsense about, oh my God, it's Jew hatred. This is so worn out. It's so boring. It's so useless. I really think that they've shot themselves in the foot this time, because they have abused this for so long. People just don't care anymore. And they shouldn't care. They shouldn't care, because it's unwarranted. It is baseless. And, if there was something that was actually about Jew hatred, well, we would all criticize it and all call it out. But criticizing Zionism is a completely different matter. Let me just read to you a list of the universities where all these protests have been taking place. So there's University of South California. There's also Harvard, MIT, Stanford, Yale, Brown, UT Dallas, there's Austin as well, Berkeley, University of New Mexico, NYU, and then also Columbia, of course, and Emerson. This is a list from just a few days ago. And now that has grown exponentially. Let me show you this. This is another scene over here. This is from Virginia Commonwealth University in Richmond. Once again, look at the fascist stormtroopers. It's like something out of a movie because it is unbelievable. This should only be something you see in a movie. This is not normal. This is completely over the top. And now what they're doing, these universities they were engaged in negotiations with some of the students, right? Because remember, this money comes from the students, okay? And even if it doesn't, let's say that they got a grant, for example, or a scholarship, most of them are citizens of the United States, so they have a say. If you say this is a democracy, everybody has a say, whether they paid for it or they didn't pay for it. It's democracy, right? So we are basing our logic on what the United States tells the world, that it's a democracy. Well, the university were negotiating with the students and saying maybe that they will divest, which is what the students ultimately want, is that they want the assets, investments, and other facilities that belong to the university in the occupied territories to be completely dismantled. And there were negotiations, and then suddenly yesterday, abruptly cut off. Now I'm talking about Columbia specifically, right? Because this is one of the larger flashpoints. And not only that, but they're now telling students, you know, you either go away, you step aside, or you're suspended. Or you're suspended. And what's interesting is that they are even suspending people who are not there. So look at this, for example. You have a Palestinian student at Columbia, arbitrarily suspended, along with many others, and they're being racially profiled, okay? So this is a message from someone who is suspended while they were in class, okay? So they're telling them disperse. This person is obviously dispersed. They're not in the protest, and they still got suspended. So this tells you that Columbia are basically looking at their records and saying, well, this person's a Palestinian, this one's an Arab. Let's just ban all of them. Maybe this one's a Muslim. We should ban them too. You know, they probably had something to do with it. What do you expect? But what's impressive about these students is that they refuse to yield. They will not yield. They will not give up. They will not give in. Some of them are going to lose all of the academic work that they've put in over this, and they don't regret it, because that shows you, you know, how much moral integrity they have, because they understand that whatever is happening in Gaza is way worse. It's incomparable to whatever consequences they will suffer academically as a result of taking part in the protest. That it's worth it. And that shows you that this is a sacrifice. It's a selfless thing. It is completely selfless. And many of them have been beaten and arrested too. So this is another form of sacrifice that you just accept. I will go there and I will stay there no matter what. Extreme moral integrity. It really shows character. It's truly impressive. And these are the largest protests in the United States since the Vietnam War. The largest anti-war protests since the Vietnam War. And we all know that the anti-war protests back then, they did have an effect. They did have an effect to a large extent in ending the war and causing the public to turn against the war in the United States. So you can't say that this doesn't achieve anything. On the contrary, these people, these students are the only group of society that have actually been willing to go on strike. Because make no mistake, this is the equivalent of a general strike. It's the equivalent of a general strike. And as I'll tell you in a minute about France, these student protests can lead to general strikes, and they have in the past. So do not underestimate what this is by any means, okay? By any means. This has forced the media, it has forced the media to address the issue, to cover the issue in a way that they have not been covering it before, that they they were incapable or unwilling to cover before. Whether they were compromised or simply lazy or dumb, whatever excuse they have, it doesn't matter. But now they've been forced to cover it in a different way. And they're showing their true colors. I mean, not only are they showing that the students are brave people, that they're selfless, that they have moral integrity, that they have character, but they're also showing that this image of democracy that the United States wants to portray to the rest of the world is rubbish. Look, do they not beat women? Are they not aggressive against harmless, defenseless civilians in broad daylight all over the country? Yes, they are. It's on video. I just showed it to you. And there are many more other examples. We could also look at the George Floyd protests if you want. Those are the largest ones before this one. But in terms of anti-war protests, this is the largest in 50 years. We have to look at it for the effects that it's accomplishing across the country. Let me play you a clip now from Netanyahu, because he certainly seems to think that it has merit.
What's happening on America's college campuses is horrific. Anti-Semitic mobs have taken over leading universities. They call for the annihilation of Israel. They attack Jewish students. They attack Jewish faculty. This is reminiscent of what happened in German universities in the 1930s.
No, it's not. It's not. It's not. This guy is such a pathetic liar. He's so disgusting. You know what happened in German universities and Austrian universities? They would have brown shirts literally stand in a single file, physically blocking the entrance for Jewish students to go into the university. That is completely different to this. There's nothing to do with that whatsoever. Okay? In the 1930s, with the Nuremberg laws, they banned Jewish academics. They banned Jews from taking part in civil society, from being judges, from being lawyers. What does that have to do with this? You know, I really hate this guy, because he, like a lot of Israelis, they weaponize the Holocaust. And what they're doing is basically they're spitting on Palestinians. They're insulting our intelligence. And then they're also insulting victims of the Holocaust, whether they're Jewish or otherwise. So he's so dishonest. He knows what he's doing. He knows that most people will either be too afraid to check him, to counter him, to call him out, or they're just they don't know any better because they've been brainwashed by the media. So they swallow this up.
It's unconscionable. It has to be stopped. It has to be condemned, and condemned unequivocally. But that's not what happened. The response of several university presidents was shameful. Now, fortunately, state, local, federal officials, many of them have responded differently, but there has to be more. More has to be done.
Okay, so I'll translate for you. When Netanyahu is saying that the deans and the faculty that didn't call the stormtroopers from the very first minute, shame on them. But thank God that you have federal, local, state officials that came in with the riot shields and started cracking skulls. And he respects them. So what you have here is a foreign leader, if you can call him that, meddling in American democracy, right? The famed American democracy we keep hearing about. That's what he's doing. He's telling you, don't protest. Shame on you for protesting. Shame on you for saying anything about what your government does to other people in your name. Shame on you. How dare you? How dare you be a democracy? Don't you know that we are the only democracy in the Middle East? That's what he's saying. And this is what Donald Trump had to say about the protests as well. He said, stop the protests now. And I'm sure he went on some tirade saying that, they're also anti-Semitic. You see, I can't help but agree with Professor Merendi here. Biden and Trump are the same garbage. Yes, they are. They absolutely are, without distinction. Unequivocally, they are the same garbage. Yes. If you think that Donald Trump is going to handle the situation like as if it's a car going out of control. No, the United States is participant in the genocide, and Donald Trump, if he's president tomorrow morning, he will continue. He will continue just like Biden. Make no mistake. Make no mistake. In any case, going back to the students, right, who are at the center of the issue, really we have to salute them.
PPD, KKK, IOF, you're all the same. PPD, KKK, IOF, you're all the same. PPD, KKK, IOF, you're all the same.
So what they're saying here cuts to the core of the issue. What are they talking about? They're talking about white supremacy. They are talking about white supremacy. These units, these entities, all act together in order to enforce white supremacy in the Middle East, in the United States, and in Europe. Okay? So you have the law enforcement working with the Israelis to attack, kill, brutalize anyone who isn't okay with the system. And then, of course, you have the Ku Klux Klan thrown in there because the element of white supremacy is still is very much alive and well in today's world. But it's transmitted, it's enacted, it's implemented through a different vehicle, which is American imperialism. It's just that most people don't see it. They don't understand. They think that, you know, it's freedom and democracy or something. They don't grasp that when you have a bunch of people in London, in New York, and then in Tel Aviv, who all come from Europe and who are killing people in the Middle East, yes, it's white supremacy. So really nothing but respect to these students. I admire them. I love them, and they make me proud of my generation. They make me really, really happy that they came out. And, you know, I was saying to myself that I was kind of annoyed that this didn't happen sooner, right? Because it's been 6 months now. But then at the same time, I realized that it's not like they have any control over this. You know, people have been mobilizing. But you can't always predict or put together the resources to spark a flame like this. So we can't fault them. They showed up, you know, better late than never. And people across the entire Arab world, they see what is happening. All of them, they've put out statements saying they admire the students, you know, from Yemen all the way to Palestine. They are all watching what's happening. They all see this. And they know that people sacrifice their physical well-being, their personal safety in order to stick up for Palestine. They see this and they appreciate this. And we should appreciate that too. Again, YouTube demonetized my channel because I'm not allowed to say naughty things about Israel. You know, telling the truth is forbidden. So if you are able to donate a few dollars on PayPal or on a monthly basis on Patreon, please consider doing it because it would really help me continue my journalism and support independent media. So I'd be very grateful. And the links are in the description and also in the chat. Thank you guys very much again for all your donations and all your kind comments. I appreciate it very much.